if you just looked at the scoreboard, you'd say, Yankees win the series 2 out of 3. Job done. But that's not the standard. Because this Seattle series told us something much more important than whether they can win games. It told us whether this team is actually built for October. And the answer? It's complicated.
Criswell pitched in his last time up on the mound. Rice, a drive and trouble. It is gone, and the Yankees get one of those runs right back.
Let's set the stage quickly. In Game 1, we lost 2-1 on a walk-off hit by Cal Raleigh in the ninth. In Game 2, we win 5-0, stellar pitching performance from Max Fried as usual. Game 3, we win 5-3. Again, stellar pitching from Cam Schlittler. Ben Rice came up huge. Bullpen looked a little shaky. So, yes, series win. But more importantly, this was a low-margin, pitcher-driven series. The type of baseball that shows you who can execute, who can adjust, and who can survive when the offense isn't easy. This wasn't the Giants. This was much closer to October. We're facing a team that took the Blue Jays to Game 7 in the ALCS last year. So, what held in this series? Well, obviously, the starting pitching stability. This was the foundation of the series. They controlled the tempo, limited damage, and gave our team a chance to win every night. And that translates to October. You're going to have to rely on your pitchers to be sharp every night. And so far, from what we've seen from Cam Schlittler and Max Fried, and even Will Warren and Ryan Weathers was decent against the Giants, but this starting pitching staff is legit. It is real. And we only have Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon and even Clark Schmidt coming back later in the year. So this is a scary good starting rotation. Another thing that held is the ability to win without chaos. And Game 2 was the blueprint for that. It was 5-0. It was clean. It was controlled. It was professional. There was no scrambling, no bailout moments. We were never really in danger of losing that game. That was real baseball from our Yankees. And then you had flashes of dominance from the bullpen. And there were moments where the bullpen looked like a strength and not a question. Although there were other moments where they looked more like a question than a strength. So we'll see which one it actually is moving forward. But so far in the season, I mean, considering we're 5-1 through 6 games, and for the most part, the bullpen has been pretty good. So what did not hold in this series? Well, offensive consistency was a problem. Game 1 was a red flag. 1 run. No adjustments. Kind of waiting for the home run ball that never came. And that's not just a one-game issue. That's an identity question. Are we going to be able to score runs and win games without the long ball? Now, granted, in Game 2 of the series, we scored 5 runs and did not hit a home run. So we were able to produce in that game. We were also able to do it in Game 1 against the Giants. So in the 3 games this year out of 6 that we did not hit home runs, we won 2 of the 3. So, are we going to be able to keep that up? Or is it going to look more like Game 1, where we struggled to produce at all? The only run we scored was a sac fly from a pinch hitter in Ahmed Rosario. That's something we're going to have to keep an eye on. I mean, in this series, the bottom 4 batters went 5 for 42. That's a 119 average. Our top 2 hitters in the lineup went 3 for 22, which is a 136 average. Our 3, 4, and 5 hitters went 12 for 31, which is a 387 average. So, thank goodness for our 3, 4, and 5 hitters, because otherwise, the rest of the offense, 2/3 of the offense, struggled. Another thing that did not hold was our situational hitting. Opportunities did not always turn into runs. And in October, you don't get extra chances. It's not 1 of 162. In the wild card series, it's 1 of 3. In the divisional series, it's 1 of 5. And in the championship series and World Series, it's 1 of 7. So every little opportunity matters. And if you can't get those runs in and score in those situations where the margin is thin, you're going to be in trouble. And then number 3 is clean execution late in games. Because even in wins, there were some moments that felt fragile. And that's the difference between a good team and a dangerous one. This last game, we had the 4-0 lead. Doval comes in the 8th inning. He gets a couple of outs. He has the bases loaded. They bring in Bednar to face Raleigh, and Raleigh gets the 2-run hit, making it 4-2. Luckily, in the top of the 9th, Ben Rice comes out, hits that home run, gives us that extra little bit of cushion, because Bednar came back out in the 9th and proceeded to give up another run, keeping it interesting. And so that's something we're going to need to keep an eye on. Like, how much can we trust the bullpen? Because those are probably the 2 guys that I trust most in Bednar and Doval. So if they struggle against good teams, that could be an issue. But we'll have to see how that progresses throughout the season. What was the turning point of this series? Turning point was not just one play. It was actually the response after Game 1. Because Game 1 could have set a tone. The offense was quiet. It was a tight game. And it was a missed opportunity. And that's how series slip. Because missed opportunities, losses late in games, bad teams will fall apart from that. And you'll see the hangover the next day, and they won't be very good. You lose a series just like that. But instead, Game 2, these Yankees came out completely different. Controlled, assertive, and focused. And that told us something. This team doesn't spiral. But it still hasn't proven that it can consistently elevate. Alright, as for our player performances, the positive from this series was the starting rotation. And this is a major strength for us right now. They're doing exactly what we need them to do. They're limiting damage, they're keeping games in control, and giving this offense a chance. Even if they don't score a lot of runs, they are keeping this team in the game. And that is October caliber behavior. Another positive is, well, Giancarlo Stanton, who's still hitting 500, multiple hits in every game so far that he has played in this year. And Ben Rice was a beast this series. He was 5 for 9, 2 doubles, 1 home run, 3 RBIs, 5 runs scored, 3 walks, and most importantly, 0 strikeouts. That is a performance that you want to see from Ben Rice. And that's Ben Rice taking the next step, which is what we want to see from him, what we're expecting to see from him. He needs to take that next step. I really think that Ben Rice is the X factor for this offense this season. All right, the concern right now is the top and bottom of the order. Situational hitting. It's not about talent. Obviously, there's talent there, especially at the top. But it's about production in the tight games. When the game slows down and the pitching gets better, when there's pressure, can they adjust? Game 1 says not yet and not consistently. And then our trends that we have to keep an eye on is the bullpen structure. And this is an interesting one. You're starting to see roles form, but it's not fully defined yet. And that's critical because bullpen chaos kills playoff teams. So if we can get some clarity, that's a major step forward. One of the issues in the first game of this series, I had a bad feeling when Paul Blackburn came out in a tie game in the 8th inning. And you know what? He got through it, which was great. And then we see Paul Blackburn come out again in the 9th inning. And that bad feeling that I had didn't go away. And ultimately, he lost us the game. And I don't really know what Boone was thinking there. Obviously, you don't want to use Bednar because it's a tie game. So even if you hold them there, they still will, get the hit in the bottom of the next inning. But you've got Tim Hill still in the bullpen, who you trust, or you should trust. So I'm not quite sure what was going on there. I don't think Paul Blackburn should be the guy in the game in high leverage late inning situations. But that's just me. And let's do a structural check. So now we'll zoom out, forget the individual games, forget the moments. Is the structure of this team aligned with winning in October? What is aligned? Starting pitching? Absolutely yes. Our power threats? Check. Judge has 2 home runs. Rice had a big home run the other day. Stanton's got a home run. We know that this team has power. That's never been a question. Not any time in recent history, anyway. And then high-end bullpen potential. The potential is there, yes. It's just a matter of, will we see the execution? And we've seen it in some games. We've seen them struggle in other games. So, still, 5-1. We can't complain about the record, but it's the performance from these guys that needs to be more consistent and much better. So, what's not quite fully aligned with this team right now? And right now, it's the offensive identity. Because we're mostly waiting for damage. You're waiting for that home run ball. And when you don't get it, in game 1, it sinks you. Game 2, the awesome pitching performance bailed us out. But when it comes to October, October demands creating pressure. Whether you hit the home run or not, you need to turn those singles into a guy advancing to second base, whether that's stealing a base or getting, moved up to second base by the next hitter, and then get that guy in. Get that big hit with guys in scoring position. You need to do that in the playoffs to win. Decision-making consistency. It's okay right now, but it's not automatic. I mean, the decision to leave Paul Blackburn in, I didn't agree with it. Obviously, it didn't work out, but it is what it is. The decision to sit Stanton in Game 6, I'm just a little bit confused how he's our best hitter at the moment. He's hitting .500. We've had 2 days off after 5 games in the season. Why does he need another day off? I understand you want to keep him healthy, but what is the plan moving forward? Is the plan that he's going to rest 4 out of every 9 days? Seems a little excessive to me, because that's what they're doing here with the day off after this series and him getting the last game off. He's played 5 games in 9 days. Is 6 games in 9 days too much? I guess we'll have to see how they're handling him moving forward. I mean, I guess if it keeps him healthy and the guys who fill in perform, then great. I didn't agree with it, but then you look and you see Ben Rice hits a home run at DH. Paul Goldschmidt's then playing first base. He hits the big 3-run home run. So ultimately, that decision worked out. I wasn't a fan of it, but hey, we got the win, right? And then our risk anticipation. We're still seeing issues after they show up and not before. And that's where the elite teams separate from the good ones. So, what did we learn from this series? The series told us 3 things. 1, this team can win playoff-style games. Game 2 was the perfect example of that. And then Game 3, even when our bullpen struggled a little bit, our offense in Ben Rice was able to give us that cushion and make sure that we won that game. Number 2, the same old risks are still present. The offensive inconsistency didn't disappear, but luckily it didn't cost us the series. And number 3, we're closer, but we're not complete. So there's definitely a version of this team that can win in October, but it's not yet the version that we're seeing every night. So what should we look for in the next series against Miami in our home opener? Well, number 1, can the offense produce without relying on power? We're going to continue to watch this throughout the season. Like I said, we've been able to win 1 game in each series so far without hitting home runs, thanks to the fantastic pitching. But we also lost one where our offense totally disappeared. So, can we produce without needing to hit home runs? And number 2, does the bullpen become defined? Not just good enough, but defined roles and predictability. Are we going to know who we're going to see in the 6th, 7th innings? We should see Doval and Bednar in the 8th and 9th in a close game. But we don't necessarily know who are we going to see in the 6th and 7th inning. Does Boone think of Paul Blackburn as a high-leverage reliever? these are things that we're going to have to see and see how these roles actually become defined moving forward. And then, do they clean up in tight game execution? Less stress, less chaos, and more control. We need to be able to score runs late. In the series against the Giants, we didn't score any runs in the 7th, 8th, or 9th innings. We got a sac fly in the 7th inning of Game 1, which was the only run we scored in that loss to Seattle. And then we had Ben Rice's solo home run in the 9th inning of the last game. In 6 games, to score 2 runs in the last 3 innings isn't really giving me much confidence. But if the pitching does their job, we don't really need to score that much. So we're going to have to see if this offense can actually give us cushion and provide us less stress and less chaos and more control. And if those things improve, now you're talking about a real October team. So here's the bottom line. The Yankees passed the test, but they didn't ace it. They showed they can play October-style baseball against a legitimate playoff team, but they also showed they're still carrying the same risks that have held them back before. And until those risks are eliminated and not just managed, the team is good, but is not inevitable. So that's the standard. Not wins, not stats, but whether this team is actually built for what matters. And after Seattle, they're getting closer, but they're not there yet. Happy home opener to all who celebrate. This is The Standard with Brian Leavy.